1 or 2 months ago, my girlfriend and I went out to our favorite bar. The drive is a tad longer than an hour to our place from the bar, primarily on barren interstate after the first 15 minutes, save for a few rural exits and one rest stop a little over halfway home. My girlfriend was sober that night and was driving. I had had a bit to drink and was feeling warm and tipsy. I asked my girlfriend to make a quick stop at the rest area so I could pee. Thanks, beer. This is a normal stop for us to make if one of us has been drinking, since the rest area has its own direct exit and entrance, so it's faster than taking an actual exit into a town for a gas station. The rest area has only one road in and one out, and is surrounded by trees to the point you can't see the facility from the freeway. It has wooded walking trails. By the time I hopped out of the car at the rest stop, it was sometime around 3 a.m. As mentioned, this is a fairly regular stop, and until that day the only other person I had seen in that rest stop around that time of night was the guy who maintains it. I walk in. The vending area is empty and completely silent. I make my way over to the men's room and push it open to be immediately startled by this old man, maybe mid-60s or so, standing immediately to the left of the door inside the bathroom. He was wearing what I can only describe as an Inspector Gadget coat and slacks. I noticed he had a cell phone in his hand when I opened the door, but it was hanging down at his side and the screen was not lit up. He stares at me, and I stare back for a split second. Then I get over it and pass him to head over to the urinals. I take the urinal closest to the sinks when I notice he made no indication he was going to walk out, because they're basically a wall of mirrors stretched out far enough that I can watch him in the mirror while I'm at the urinal. I unzip and keep my eyes on the mirror, but make sure not to turn my head at all. By the time I look in the mirror, his phone is up in his hand and on as if he were texting, but he seems to be staring at me rather than the phone. Either way, he definitely was not looking at his phone. A very long 60 seconds pass, and I absolutely cannot piss with this silent guy staring at my back from the door. Then in the mirror, I notice him take a small, slow step forward. I tell myself I'm just tipsy and imagining it, to just get on with my piss and get the fuck out. Then he takes a more obvious step forward, and I put it in my pants while I speed walk to the back handicap stall and lock the door. I went to the back where my feet weren't visible and texted my girlfriend about the creepy guy inside with me. I sit and wait to hear the door open, signaling him leaving, but it still doesn't. After possibly the longest 8 minutes of my life, I hear the door open and close. I wait another 2 minutes and finally pee. In the stall, though. I cracked the stall door first. Luckily, the bathroom isn't huge, and I had almost complete visibility of the room from the stall I had picked. I saw no signs of anyone else, so I walked out, washed my hands, and beelined it back to the parking lot. I finally make it back to the car and ask my girlfriend what car the old guy got into. She turns to me wide-eyed and says, "He didn't get into one. He just walked across the parking lot and went into the tree line." With the rest stop being the only thing on the very short on-off ramps, and the other closest civilization being 5 miles by interstate, I don't know where that guy was going. Later, I realized although the rest area main room is small, there is a second entrance and exit on the side that goes to a patio backing up to the woods. I forget about it because I never use it, but if that guy had somehow managed to get a jump on me, he easily could have pulled me out of that door and my girlfriend wouldn't have even seen it. I don't know if that was his plan and I ruined it when I made my dash for the stalls, but regardless, old man creeping in the rest stop bathroom in the wee hours, let's not meet again.
So I live in a pretty nice area with my husband and some family friends. We lived there for a few years with nothing bad happening around us. It felt like a very safe neighborhood. Now, for context, I'm a very short white female, and I'm considered disabled, even though I look fine. I could never really beat anyone up since my disability has limited my activity severely. Anyways, on to the story. This happened about a year before we moved. I had some stories pop up on a Facebook of some traffickers that were targeting women and children at a local store that we lived right behind. I was freaked out, and so I made it a point to not go to the store without my husband. I still got the news articles about people being followed and grabbed and kidnapped from the store, but I felt pretty safe, as long as I didn't go anywhere without my husband. I was going to work one day. I worked about 15 minutes away from our house. It was a call center kinda out in the middle of nowhere. There were fields every which way. I worked the afternoon shift and was one of the last people to leave at night. I had to stop and get gas and was a little freaked out because I was scared to go anywhere without my husband, but I wasn't going to make it to work and back home, so I had no choice. I stopped at the station and was slightly relieved that it was super busy. I got out and started pumping my gas when this big van pulled up to the spot next to mine. A guy got out and started pumping his own gas. Then he walked around the pump and got in between my car and me. He smiled and said, "Wow, your car is so clean. How do you get it so clean?" I was flabbergasted at the question. My car was a mess. It was dirty with bugs and stuff on it. "Why don't you show me how you get it so clean?" He reached out to touch me, but I jerked back. Another car pulled up behind me, and a guy got out. I think he freaked the other guy out because he walked back to his van. I quickly finished pumping my gas and got into my car, locked the doors, and sped away. A few minutes later, I look out my window, and the van is behind me, riding my bumper pretty much. I could see the guy smiling and laughing with some other guy. I was pretty freaked out, but figured he was just going to the freeway. We passed the freeway, but he kept following me. Now I was very freaked out. The only place on this road now is my work. I called my husband, but he didn't answer since he was at work. I was freaking out, so I just picked up speed and continued to work. I kept looking back, and the van was still there, just a little further back. I made it to work. It was a large building with lots of cars in the parking lot. I parked right in front of the doors in a handicapped spot and ran into the doors. I looked back through the locked doors and I saw the guy stopped in front, looking pissed. I ran to my department and went right up to a friend who was ex-military. He carried multiple guns on him at all times. I cried as I told him what happened. I got to work and was freaked out all day. We closed and I was walking down to my car. I peeked out the windows and saw the white van. I couldn't see anyone in there, and I wasn't even sure it was the same van. I ran back to my department and told my friend what was going on. He pulled out his gun and walked me outside. The van had now moved right behind my car. My friend walked me to his car. We got in and he drove me right up to my car. Then he followed me all the way home and sat outside until I was inside the house. I could see the van following us, but once we got past the freeway, he turned onto it. The next afternoon, on my way to work, I passed the gas station, and the van pulled out. Again, they followed me to work, but they turned away once I got to the parking lot. This went on for about a week. They would follow me to work, leave, then be outside when I was leaving, and my friend would walk me out. My buddy told me they were probably trying to learn my schedule so they could figure out a time to jump me. He insisted I take one of his guns, just in case he wasn't there at work to walk me out. I didn't want it, though, as I was afraid that if I had it, then I would get pulled over for something and get in trouble for having a gun not in my name and not having a permit for it. I was telling my husband that evening about how this van was still following me, and he suggested that I should call the cops and let them know. I honestly don't know why I didn't think of that. So the next morning, when I was about to get ready for work, I called. I told him everything. Then I left for work. Just like clockwork, the van pulled out of the gas station and started following me. We were on the long stretch of road that nothing was on when I spotted a car parked off to the side of the road. I passed, and then the car passed, and then the lights came on. The van was pulled over. I later found out that the men following me had several warrants for rape and attempted kidnapping. The back of the van had knives, ropes, gloves, masks, chloroform, and some other sketchy crap in it. The cops believed that I was going to be their next target. When I got to work, my friend wasn't there. He was sick. I'm glad I called the cops that morning, because I don't think I would have made it home if he wasn't there to walk me out. Anyways, that's my creepy story. I hope you guys liked it. It's 100% true. We have since moved out and live in a not as nice area, but so far, I haven't noticed any creepy people around. But I always carry pepper spray whenever I go out.